Hello, welcome to episode 164 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, 1934's Letterboxd, the final film from Jean Vigo, his first feature-length film. We just talked about Zero for Conduct, his short film that was also featured in the book, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, and Letterboxd is a film that is widely hailed as one of the greatest films ever made. French film, obviously, if you didn't see the last video, Jean Vigo was a French filmmaker who had a very short career, died quite young. And this is, to me, more than anything, a sign of what could have been. You know, if Jean Vigo had gone on to make another 5 films, you know, we could have seen something really special. And many would argue that we did see something really special in Letterboxd, which is the name of the ship where, or the boat where most of the film takes place. We follow a newlywed couple who go onto the boat, Letterboxd, and it's a sail barge, and they sail down the river wherever they are in France and start a life on the boat, you know, going down the canals. And it's about, you know, how a couple has to deal with a change in their lives when they get together with someone. In this case, you can imagine that the two got together, and I forget the character's name, Jean and Juliet. So Jean and Juliet, you know, they're very different people. They obviously fell in love, decided to get married, but now they have to face the reality of being together in close proximity with each other. She has to deal with living on a boat. He has to deal with living with someone else up in his space. She's a country girl, you know, she's not used to this kind of thing, and stopping off and going to the cities and stuff, it's quite a novelty to her, but soon they start kind of rubbing each other the wrong way. And I think it's really applicable to probably anyone who gets married, or at least enters into a long-term relationship or moves in with someone, and everything that's rosy and bright and fun and just exciting about love starts to kind of, the edge gets cut off a little bit, bit by bit, as you live with someone 24/7, and you kind of, you know, you really get up and close and personal with that person. That to me is what the film is kind of about. I got a little bit of a vibe from of Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, in this film, but I'd say that's a far superior film with working with less, because you don't have dialogue. This film has sound. And to me, the most interesting character of Letterboxd was the ship hand who works on the sail barge Letterboxd, which was Pierre Jules, I think was his name, star of the show. What a character. And when he first was on screen, I thought, I'm not going to like this guy. He's far too cartoony, far too over the top. But man, he became the most interesting part of the film to me, and very much the heart of the film in a lot of ways too. Very colourful character, but wonderfully performed by the actor. And there's another ship hand as well who works on the ship, who's a young kid, a teenager, and I suppose he's there to kind of show you what Pierre Jules was when he was younger. Obviously this is someone who's grown up his entire life working on boats, working on sail barges, so you get to see kind of the other side of his life in a way. But I found that teenage ship hand to be a completely redundant character, because I don't think you needed him to be there to see that side of Pierre Jules, and as a character he didn't really have anything to add to the story. And I even think that the couple of scenes he had where he had dialogue was delivered unconvincingly to me, so I think he's a real weak link in the film that really shouldn't have been there. But you have the 3 main characters, Jean, Juliet, and Pierre Jules, and this relationship between these 2 people on this boat. And the music in the film is very effective. The cinematography is stunning. You have these wonderful moments. There's one where she's walking across the boat, and the boat's moving, and she's walking along it, and the canal is like, you know, foggy, and there's just an ethereal beauty to some of the cinematography in the film. You know, and they would kind of use the elements when they made this film. If it was foggy, they'd get more lights in to really show the depth of it. If it was raining, they'd find a way to accentuate the rain into the film. You know, they would really try and get a mood into the piece, and I think that works quite well. The problem for me with Letterboxd is that, and I think it's a great film by the way, but the problem I have is that basically, you know, the 2 characters, that they eventually kind of splinter apart in some way. Not to spoil things, they get separated, not literally, they don't break up, but they, you know, they physically become separated, and it's about them, you know, getting back together. And again, not back together in a relationship, but you know, she's somewhere and he can't get to her, and she doesn't know how to get back to him. So they get to deal with being alone after being together. And there's a wonderful sequence where he's lying in bed and she's lying in bed somewhere else, and they're kind of longing for each other, and it's a very expressionistic scene, and it feels like a love scene without physical contact. It's very beautifully shot. Another great moment is at the beginning of the film. She's talking about how she knew she was going to marry him before she even met him, because I guess it's an old wives' tale, roughly, that if you put your head into a bucket of water, you'll see the face of the man you're going to marry. And she said that she saw his face, and he kind of laughs at this and stuff, and makes her feel a bit foolish because he kind of brushes it aside. But once she's gone and he can't get to her, he's so obsessed with seeing her again, he dives into the canal and tries to find her again, And there's an excellent sequence where he kind of gets this again, to use the word, ethereal vision of Juliet in the water. It's just a gorgeous moment in the film. So Jean Vigo really had a sense of visual storytelling that, again, I just wish had gone on, and that his life had been cut short. And you could lump in F.W. Murnau in that same category of a visionary director whose career was ended far too quickly by a premature death. Only Murnau had a bigger body of work than Jean Vigo, sadly. But Vigo, yeah, it's a shame. It really is a shame. But anyway, my problem with the film, I'm getting lost on a tangent here. My problem is that when the characters come back together again at the end, it's supposed to be this, is it going to work? How's it going to feel? Is it going to be this big reunion? Are they still going to be mad at each other? And when they came together and what happened at the end happened, I didn't really feel anything. It was like, okay, so that's the film kind of wrapped up. Apologies for the Facebook bell going off in the background. Yeah, I thought, that's it, that's the film wrapped up then. The end, there wasn't like, I wasn't into it. And I felt like this is a film that really needed me to be into it, because there's so much that's working and done right in the film, but ultimately that relationship between those two main characters, I guess somewhere along the way, didn't hook me in enough to care about the resolution. So I think that's kind of a problem. But maybe that might change when I see it again. That's the thing with films, it's to do with the time of day you watch it. Maybe the weather has an effect, your mood, how you feel, where you are in your life. I could come back to this in 20 years and it would blow me away and move me to tears. I don't know, but right now, as it stands, it was a disappointment because everything else was so good, but just the main characters, I wasn't invested enough. Pierre Jules, I felt, again, was the heartbeat of the movie. Another great scene is when Juliet goes into Pierre Jules' personal quarters and she sees what he does in his kind of, quote-unquote, spare time. He collects all this stuff from around the world, and sails the seas and collects all this bits of, these bits of junk and kind of random things. He's got this puppet show that he puts on for her. He's got all these little bits and pieces, and there's just lots of great little quirks to that character, especially when he opens the cupboard and there's something in a jar, which I'm not going to spoil, but that was a real kind of shocking moment, but it also added something to the character that was really interesting. And I loved his love of cats. There's cats all over this film, so if you're into kittens and cats, then you'll see a lot of them in the film, and it's quite cute to see them in the many situations that Pierre Jules has them in. But yeah, the acting is really strong, but again, the characters, there's something about how they didn't, dig into too deep to my brain, I guess. I don't know, there's just, yeah. So I don't know how else to express myself on it, but is it a film you should see before you die? Yes, you should. I think it's a great film. I just feel like it could have been an amazing film. It could have been a masterpiece if only I'd felt more about those main characters. And I'm beating a dead horse at this point, so I'll leave it there. But if you have seen the film, let me know what you thought of it, especially my main gripe with the film. If you agree with it, if you disagree with it, if there's anything else that you particularly like about it or dislike about it, I'd love to talk about this. I think it's a really fascinating film. I am looking forward to returning to it at some point, and the Criterion is fantastic. So yeah, bottom line, Jean Vigo, a very nice selection of films that he kind of had started to chip away at, but again, just a shame that he wasn't able to. I feel like that if he had continued for another 10-20 years, his masterpiece was still inside him somewhere. And again, many would argue that this is his masterpiece, but yeah, I'm not quite buying into the idea that it's one of the greatest films of all time. I think that other films are far more deserving of that thing, but again, it's all subjective. It's just my opinion. And, you know, it's always a good day at the film watching office when a film really disappoints you and it's still a great film. So, I mean, you know, you can't really complain at that. Really, really enjoyed it. And that's it. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.